Vítajte na dnešnom podujatí. To je ešte môj laptop, ktorý tu streamuje. Už je vypnutý. Budeme hovoriť dnes... Budeme dnes hovoriť po anglicky, pretože tu máme hostí... Zaklapni to proste. Budeme tu hovoriť po anglicky, pretože tu máme hostí z Nórska, z našej partnerskej organizácie Spolu. So welcome to the mini-conference Understanding Digital Collection or Making Meaning of Digital Collections. And we are here with our colleagues and partner institution Spolu from Norway in Kristiansandu. And we'll be talking today about the results of our joint project. And we are also not only in the cinema, in the Slovak National Gallery, we are also online, so welcome those ones who are joining us on the YouTube stream. Before I introduce the whole project, I would like to make a little bit of housekeeping and mention that after each of the presentation there will be a time for discussion, so feel free to ask questions. We have a microphone for you and ask. And the same goes for the live stream people. You can join and ask the questions on the YouTube stream in the side panel. So, as mentioned, this is the final event of the project that has been going on for almost 3 years, and a little bit about the origins. My colleague Toril will say about it, how did we meet and how did the project get born. But I will briefly introduce you to the speakers today. First, we'll start with my great colleagues Katarina Vas and Filip Ruysel, who will be talking about the Atlas Digital Guide, which is our main product which we developed within this project. Then they will be followed by Toril Haugen and Jørn Bernsvensen from Norway, of which Jørn is online and he will join us on Zoom. Hi. And to finish with, I will talk about a side or part of the project which we developed and which we still develop at the moment. We will be launching it at the end of March, so that's a little bit into the future. And not to forget about, because all this is made possible by the generous support of the EEA grants, which is Norway, Liechtenstein and Norway, which was kind enough to provide us with the budget for the whole project and also co-financed by the state budget of Slovak Republic. So thanks to you. And thanks to everyone who is watching us online and who is with us here today. And I give the word to my colleagues, Katarina and Filip, so welcome.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Yes, clicker. Okay, so welcome, everyone. We are the team of Lab SNG, a unit from the Slovak National Gallery. My name is Filip Ruysel. I'm a product designer, and this is Katarina.
Katarina Vaš. That was my previous name over there in the slide before. Yeah, hi. I'm a UX researcher here.
And we're going to talk to you about Atlas SNG, which is a digital companion for your visit in the gallery. We had some technical difficulties, as you know how it goes with presentations. So thanks to Apple, we couldn't convert properly to PowerPoint, so it will be kind of funky. But yeah, we're gonna go for it. Okay, so as I said, we're from the Lab SNG. We are a unit underneath the gallery consisting of user researchers, developers, content editors, and designers. And as you know, like the gallery only opened the last December, but even before then, we knew that we wanted to enhance the experience of the visit by something more. And we started to started to ideate and think about like some kind of a digital guide. And so it was over COVID when we started to think about having an app. So you may ask why we need an app. So for it's very useful to provide more information in the digital space that cannot fit in the physical space, to complement the visit of the visitors. It has the possibility to reach diverse audiences of different age groups, different nationalities, of people with different proficiency concerning art and galleries. It also, perhaps the most interesting factor to play with was to extend the gallery visit past the actual visit of the space, and also to provide content to people based on their preferences and interests.
Yeah, so first of all, we wanted to speak to real visitors, real users, and we started with a research where we invited different people and talked to them about how they experience different museums and art museums as well. So I was asking them what were their joys or frustrations, what was the best experience they had, and what they didn't like as well. Not just about the digital like layer in the museums and galleries, but overall experience. And we came up with some insights regarding content, what they really want to know. This is not a new information. But everybody wants to hear the stories behind the artworks, behind the life of the authors. And also they want to, like there are two groups of people regarding the form of the digital experience in the galleries and museums. Two group of people. First is they want to experience it with everything right now and right here. They want to read as much they can. They took flyers. They read everything. And the other one, the other group, they want to stay present with the moment, with the visuals, with the aesthetics, everything around it. And if they want to know more, they would like to like read or watch some more information about it later on, maybe in a coffee shop or at home. So this was really good basis for us to start to think about how to connect not just our digital collections, but also the digital space. And how we did it, we started really with the simplest version of our idea. So really simple application or website, which allowed people to collect the artworks, save it for later, and explore more right now, right here, or later on somewhere else. This is a process which is really a standard in the industry of developing and designing applications, websites, and so on. So this is how we did it. We came up with the idea, prototyped it, programmed it, got feedback. This was really also crucial as well, because every other iteration was based on a user feedback. So, and also during this process of like designing the first version, we were curious, or we were researching how can we connect the digital space with the physical one, and Philip will tell you more about it.
Yes, so this was an interesting problem to solve, as you know, to provide people with more information about what they want to know about the artworks and stuff they see in the real time. In the physical space, they need some kind of connection between the physical and digital space. And so that meant that we needed to place some kind of symbol, some kind of code in the physical space, and we explored different options. So just to compare the process, of course we evaluated the QR codes as you know them. Probably everyone does know how finicky they can be, and like that you need to come very close to the wall and scan it. It doesn't work sometimes. You need to have a camera open, which is also like performance heavy, and you need to transfer like a lot of data. So that also meant that we wanted something simpler. And for that, we were thinking about either using codes in forms of numbers and letters, or having some kind of custom or visual codes that allowed people also to enter them from much larger distance. Because like from research, we know that not everyone interacts with the gallery space or like with the artworks equally, right? Like some people are more, some people who are more accustomed to being in a gallery tend to get much closer to the artworks, and people who are not as frequent visitors tend to keep their distance. So to kind of cater to everyone, to kind of cater to everyone's preferences, we figured out a way or we came up with a way to connect the digital and physical via using these kind of, call them tic-tac-toe codes, as you see on the right. And also in April of 22, to test this, to validate this, as you know, like this process was iterative, so we needed feedback to see whether this works, because this was just our idea at that point. We did a small test in a part of old building around the corner in one exhibition, where in one room, essentially, we placed these markers next to the artworks, and developed like a quick prototype of the app. It wasn't called Atlas, it was called Bookmarks, because like you could bookmark everything, but it wasn't super clear. Never mind. But people could enter these codes in an app with this like kind of a keyboard. And this is a video, so maybe we can get it played. Yes. And this is how it looked, right? Like you were in the space, you see in the code, you could enter it in the app, and based on that, the app gave you more content, like detail about that particular artwork. This step, you could save it to add it to your collection, and you could come back to this collection whenever you wanted. So this was the very, very essential idea of the first like prototype, or the first interaction that we are validating.
Yeah, was it successful in a physical space? Kind of. We were not afraid to go in the space and try new things, and if the people didn't get how does it work, or they didn't use it, we were always curious and tried to come up with something else. So with about the communication of the bookmarks, we tried flyers. And we tried also a video, but it wasn't always successful because people not always saw the flyers or the video, and then they didn't connect the code, the dots, yeah, and they didn't know what they are for. And we also validated our concept. Because we set some goals and values which we would like to bring to people with these bookmarks. And we asked them, and I observed them. We had the sessions where we tested the application, and we validated that our goals and values and everything was really met. Also with the people, and we learned also something else. So this is what we really wanted to see, that it's an inspiration for people, because thanks to this they can learn more about the artwork, and it inspires them to look at it in a different way or learn something more about the author. Also, they told us that it is a tool for them to continue explore even more, and a few things to add to these like goals and values is that those who came only by themselves, they said that it's like a friend, it's like I don't know, some kind of a curator or a guide that they can talk to. And also they started to use it, some of the people, as a teacher. For example, like the author will read the information in a bookmarks and then say to a mom or somebody else, like, did you know that, or did you see, or something like that. And also we had questions. As I said, we were curious what the people would like to know more, what do they lack, and what can we do about it. So they always asked, like, because the wall, you cannot hang everything on the walls, and if they fall in love with some author or some artwork, they are really curious what else did the author do, paint or do. And they also asked more about the author's life, because we were at the beginning, there were texts about the artworks mostly. And also they wanted to know more about the whole exhibition, more about the context of some artworks in that exhibition, and so on.
Yes, so after taking some time in between, this is essentially the version that we launched for the opening. So this was like a half year in between. We also attended one workshop by Storythings, which is like this agency from UK that specializes in helping their clients to find their voice in terms of narration or storytelling. And as people were heavily requested some kind of behind the scenes information, something more about the artworks, more about the authors, we wanted to provide that to them via this kind of like a form of like this kind of vehicle of narration or storytelling. And this was happening in two ways, or like two forms, via text and via video. So for this second iteration, we drastically changed, or like rather included, this kind of chat interface that simulated this conversation with a persona we called Esther. And she was providing information based on your choices. So she would start talking to you. You would pick what you're interested in, and you know, according to that, you would get recommendations on content, what to do, where to go, and such. And also in the artworks, or like in the chat, we added videos we created videos with curators and the artists themselves to elaborate on the process behind the installation, behind the artwork creation, and so on. So this is also a video. Can we get it to play? So you can see also how it looked. So as I said, yeah, you could essentially talk to Esther about what you found interesting, and based on this, you would get suggestions what to do in the gallery. But as you can see, like, that's quite a lot of content, right? And we will get to that. And this kind of code feature was a bit more hidden. But as you can see here, like the text were added, also with the profiles of authors, with their added works, and this is actually directly Umenia, which is another product that we're building. Yeah, and also as you can compare the codes that were just stuck to the walls in the previous version now, or like during the opening, we had like two different versions on the labels themselves, where there were essentially parts of the labels. And this also proven not super usable, that, you know, some of them are white and black and the others are inverted, which was confusing some people. So yes, this is also some feedback we learned.
Yeah. Also with this version, as you saw, it was like content heavy, and this is what was intended, because we wanted to know what they like, what they don't like, how the flow goes and everything. The content was great, they said. They were clicking on the decisions in the chat, the flow was smooth, the questions and the texts were really interesting. But the building was much bigger, much bigger than we expected at the beginning when we couldn't go there. So we really needed to be like aware of how much content should we provide to people, because it was really too overwhelming for them. And so we again observed, talked to people. We had some sessions also with the different groups, like teenagers, etc., because we were interested in a way, have to bounce them back from the digital back to the physical space. So yeah, and this was really, really great, and we came up with the third version.
Yes, and for this version, this is essentially the one that you can see when you go to Atlas right now. And the biggest change was that we put the chat interface on the back burner. We made it feel and look like an app or like a modern website, and included the feature called Scavenger Hunt, which is essentially a way to engage people into exploration on their own in the building. So they are provided with a list of artworks that don't have a code, and they need to find it on their own. And when they find it, it's essentially marked as unlocked. And what is really interesting about this, that people are encouraged to collect like different kind of artworks upon like a story that connects them. And when they collect all of them in the given list, they're also given a discount for the coffee shop and the cafe. So yes, and as we learned later on, this has proven really effective. And also we iterated on the way how the codes are displayed in the building, and that's essentially by detaching them from the labels, because it's much more efficient to replace just a small, part of it. Also made from like these small sticky circles, so it's very easy for us to change them ad hoc if we need to.
Yeah, and we also added a website under each of the code, because this was the biggest problem, that they couldn't connect the dots with the application. With this iteration, we also gathered some more feedback, and it was really nice to see that for people it was really it had a value, and the value was connected not just to the app or information, but with the whole gallery. Also the new codes and the new system on the walls helped, and everything around it. So they really connected it with the gallery as well. Also it was usable, it was smooth to use, and yeah, one person said that it was the best addition to an art gallery I have seen. And also we are very happy that people are looking forward to visit us again and collect more and more artworks, because some of them are using it as gonna catch 'em all, as we can see from the data. Also, there is another source of information and insight. It is the survey directly in the application, where we can change the questions, and from month to month learn something new. So, for example, differences between the version 1 and version 2. The biggest one was that also we learned that the most useful and most used feature was entering the codes. So we made it more prominent for the people, and also we can see how different really the different group of visitors are. For example, people from abroad use the app differently. They collect artworks much more and they are saving it for later when they are on the, I don't know, hotel room or somewhere comfortable sitting. And sorry, yeah, fine. And also, what is very good that every iteration brought us much more visitors, much more users. You can't really okay, never mind. So the great two numbers I would pick. The first one is that 21% of every visitor in 1 month, like 20% do use Atlas. We started with a number like 5%, 10%, and also what is going up is the time they spend on average in the application. So they spend really like almost 4 minutes, which is a really great number when you consider how much time do you spend on some different applications. Also, what we can see, these are 3 most viewed, most entered artworks for last month in January, which is not just a fun fact. This is really interesting information also for curators and other people in gallery. But we can only guess if these artworks do people find really interesting, or they don't understand them and they want to know more. Yeah, so many other questions are to come.
Yes, and since this is something that you can already see like in the current stage, we're also developing new features and like keeping it interesting. And currently, we're working on a way how to get this kind of narration and storytelling back into the app. And for that, instead of the chat interface as we used to have it, we kind of simplified the way people can find this information, how they can learn more about what's happening in the gallery, and also get some kind of a guidance for the artworks, for example, that are spread out across the building, and there's not like a clear connection in between them, so they can get essentially more information on stuff that's not visible, you know, from the labels or markings. And yes, as I said, this is the place where we entered, or like kind of brought the storytelling aspect or the narration back to the app. And also we're exploring ways how to include an audio guide, because like now the codes essentially serve as a way to connect the digital and physical space, but we can enhance the items or like the artworks we have with audio content. This is something we're exploring right now. So yeah, as you can see, this project has gone through a bit of a couple of different stages. But what I would like to emphasize, how it was really important for us to work iteratively, like how to always include people in the you know, in the game, how to talk to them, ask what's working, what's not, and only upon this kind of build new features. As it's also done like with different software. But we're still learning so much, and we're very, very happy that, you know, this is something that we can bring back. So yes, I think that's the last slide, and this is not working anymore. Well, there's a thank you slide, so yeah, afterwards. Oh, imagine it. Questions? Yeah.
So if anyone has questions, I'm looking at the chat in YouTube. There is no questions, but if you have the option and chance.
My question is, you've collected quite a lot of data about the number of users and the length of the session time. Do you have any insight about what was the sort of initial trigger that brought people to actually take out their phone and start using the app? Was it a poster at the ticket desk or something below the artworks?
Yes, this is actually a very important thing that we didn't really talk about. It's very essential how you communicate, like having a digital app in the museum. So as Katka said earlier, people couldn't in the first version, in the first prototype, they couldn't find it even if they had it, in front of them. So we had to include some kind of posters in the building. Then for the second iteration, for the opening, we installed like a digital version above the ticket desk. So that's like an ad running there. And also there are like a couple of other places in the gallery that include the codes not only on the labels but like only on these leaflets. But I think the bottom line is that it's still not where we want to have it, So it's like still way to go, and it's really important to present it. I don't know. Do you have more?
Thank you. And also what is really important is the consistency, which helped because almost in every exhibition there is a big round board with the information, so it's really different when you see it again and again and again than to see it only once at the desk or so. And also what I found out is that people, the assistants and the staff in the halls and exhibitions are promoting Atlas as well, and they can really, engage with the person and tell them more about the Atlas, how to use it, why to use it. Sometimes people really ask themselves, like, what is it? What are the dots? So the in-person communication, it's the most effective.
I would maybe add like one last thing. It needs to be like a cohesive way of communication from like in-person to online to offline and everything. Yeah.
So any other questions? If not, then I would also like to thank all the colleagues that have been working with us on the project, because it's, of course, not only Filip and Katka, but it's also many other people in Lab SNG, the developers, the content editors, our colleagues from the educational department, and curators who are collaborating with us while preparing the content. So it's a big team effort, and I would like to thank all of my colleagues that they are working on it, and thank you again, Katka and Filip.
Thank you.
And now to switch to the second part, or the second presentation for today, I would like to invite Toriel Haugen on the stage. Please join us. Hi. And then later on we will be also joined by Jörn, who will be speaking online, but first we'll be having Toriel introducing the visualizing collections with artificial intelligence. And I would like my colleague to turn on the presentation we have, because it's not, ešte nemáme tu online prezentáciu, máme ešte tu lokálne na počítači. Ďakujem. So, thanks again, Toriel, and please.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, my name is, Toriel Haugen, and I'm Head of Innovation and Development at Kunstsilo. It's an organization that has gone through a big transformation over the last few years. We used to be a regional museum called Sørlandets Kunstmuseum, but in a few months from now, we will open as a totally new institution, Kunstsilo. So I just want to introduce you briefly how we started this collaboration with the National Museum in Slovakia. Because when I started working for the museum in 2019, and my role was to look into how we can look at digital transformation in the museum. And I found some articles about SNG and how they've been working with collaboration with National Gallery in Norway and so on. And that they really, they seem to take this digital transformation task of the museum very seriously. So I reached out to them, and we went to visit them, and we had a really nice visit, and really looking into how they, for example, started with digitalization. and because we wanted really to develop the digital art mediation, and we knew we needed to do that in a very high quality, and we looked at their lab, and yeah, and we were totally impressed and very inspired by how they work. So we took the inspiration and kind of went back to Norway, working with this company Applica that we also worked with here, who kind of developed almost like a photogrammetry method for us to digitize our collection in really high quality, almost like giga files. Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. Yes, so we used your module here as an inspiration for how to develop our own team. And over the last 2 years, we've been kind of expanding our team. And I could really see how, because a lot of museums in Norway, they don't have the know-how inside the organization, so they hire. And based on some conference that I went to, I could see a lot of museums, they say, okay, we spend a lot of our, almost like 70% of our budget trying to explain to developers what we want. And then we have just 30% left to actually do the job. So I really was inspired, and we followed kind of in the footsteps of SNG to really see what are the key know-how that we need to have within our institution to work on the things that we want to work on. So in a way, we say, look to Slovakia. We have, I mean, just briefly now, I just want to say one of our key mission is to develop within the immersive art mediation. A lot of those kind of productions are mostly considered to be, they are developed by commercial institutions, and if we can look at it in a critical way, we would say it's more like a VJ-DJ product than art mediation. And at the same as SNG, we always want to produce digital things that points towards the physical. So this is always, you know, we always want to do what we do in relationship to the physical space and the artworks. But it means we have, over the last few years, then developed our team, our lab, to include people working with 3D animation, 3D modeling, and we hired some artists working with this. But in regards to this project, you know, it's we have ambition, and we kind of dare to go into areas that are a little bit, the immersive world, you can say, is not where the museums go first. So we dare to be a little bit brave on the side, and we appreciate partners that are eager to experiment and do some research with us. So for us, it was really logical and natural to look at these issues together with SNG. And when I went to this Christie's Art Tech Summit in New York in 2019, the AI was the topic, and a lot of the databases that were being discussed at that time were kind of made, yeah, not built not from museums. So we knew that this was a big challenge for us. Yeah. So in 2020, a team from the SNG came to Norway. We have invited the Deputy Director, Morten Goodwin. He's the Director of Center for Artificial Intelligence Research, a very, very well-known and well-established research in not far from us. So we had a 2-day workshop with the team, where we kind of discussing a lot of ideas, and also with the help from SNG, looking into design thinking and how we can think about this from a user perspective. And of course, we invited Applica to be part of this. And I think one of the things that they pointed out quite early in this was picking the right problem, which I think was maybe the most difficult part of this process. But we looked together. Okay, I can't read it from here, but but we found some common objectives that we agreed upon, and that we wanted to explore. And looking back now we realized that maybe we should have narrowed it down even more. Let's see, you can read from here. The general visitor and curator is able to find new connections between objects in the collection, having AI suggest artworks based on input. The user will be able to find new artwork by these connections. And our ideas for the app was that the app would work on top of the online collection, provide simple user interaction, not replicate art historical concepts, work for curators and visitors too, and is trained on modernist art. I mean, even this, that it should work for curators and visitors too, is kind of too high ambition, I think, for any starting point. But we found things that we would agree on. And that we would like to provide an overview of the collection and see connections between different artworks, provide feedback value for the collection, and bring more engagement with the collection. We don't really have this online collection provided at that point. And the problems that we kind of imagine at that point is that what is the actual use of it? And how good will the results be? We knew that especially our collection didn't have enough, and maybe, the metadata would not be organized in a good way. Maybe our collection is too abstract compared to what we are able to train on. And it's difficult to make things simple, actually. That's maybe the most difficult point. So in between 2022 and 2024, we started looking at our data, and we started thinking about supervised learning. It means that we needed to be able to define what things is in one batch, and then we needed another batch of artwork that viewed what it's not. For example, this is abstract art, and then like 500 works of abstract art here, and then you needed a batch that absolutely is not abstract. We didn't organize our collection in this way. We didn't have enough metadata. When we looked at it, we saw that the only clear line we could make was between our collection of Nordic modernist art and the collection of the Slovakia collection. So we started training those two batches against each other. And it was quite successful in a way, because mathematically we received this 80% level. I mean, Jørn, who will join me later online, can say more about, the success rate of it. But so it was kind of good in a way. And then we started thinking about how to visualize it. And of course, since we have been working with art mediation, we are actually, 3D modeling artwork. We have been talking a lot with lawyers in regards to intellectual property rights, and also with the organization in Norway dealing with this. So, of course, we thought, okay, we should check this with our specialist. And then we realized quite soon that, we don't visualize the data, the collection in any. We don't affect the way it shows, but just drawing, data from the collection without the consent of each artist. We can't do that. It meant that our project came to a very abrupt stop. We had to delete the training, delete all that we had done, and try to start again. So dealing with the rights and the way we do it, it's different in each organization, but somehow it's a pity that the big companies ignore maybe some of these things, or maybe people just provide them with data for free, and they have to deal with it in their own way. But it set a stop to this project in a very sudden and very serious way. But then we had to see how can we move forward, and then we took the part of our collection that was in the free, and SNG did the same, and we started looking at our collection separately and combined, and we could start to begin to see kind of small connections between a collection of Kunstsilo and of SNG. And by using different algorithms that are pre-trained, we could see works of art being connected in a way that, you know, we haven't seen it like that before. And I think the way it is kind of special to see a lot of the works that are in the free are kind of, you know, we have a strong ownership to it. It's been with us for a long time. So it's a little bit special to see our works of art next to, you know, something totally new for us. It was nice, I think, to see these two collections combine in that way. And I think Jørn is with us, so he's able to connect us and show it to you live. This is the first time we kind of present our part of our collection online. It's kind of a new tool, and we would have to kind of look into it in a more depth and study it and see how we can bring it forward. We would be interested in doing that, also together with Slovakia and National Gallery. I think we have a potential to take it, you know, further, because yeah, we didn't get where we wanted to go. So Jørn, are you with us from Norway? It sounds like the Melody Grand Prix. Not yet. Mm-hmm.
But I'm here, and I will share my screen.
Mohli by sme prepnúť na stream, prosím, na Zoom?
Yeah, we see you. No, not yet.
Okay. Zoom up a couple of minutes. So I will just start by introducing myself while Zoom is working, I guess. My name is Jørn and I'm a software developer. And we are located in the far south of Norway. We're close to the most southern point of Norway. And I've been involved with Múzeum from SKMU with this robot she showed you for digitizing artworks. Yes, I've been working with all since then. But can you see my screen now?
Not yet, but we are sorting it out in a second. So if you have an introduction, you can still continue, but we'll soon have the presentation.
Do you think the problem is on my end, or
Not, I guess, because I'm on the Zoom call and I can see the presentation, but it's not on the projection yet. So sorry.
Jørn, do you want to say something about the first results we had before we had to close down our first project?
Yeah, so I think I have some slides on this.
Okay.
Maybe hard to show without to talk without the screen.
Okay. Yeah, we can wait.
But the first thing I will show you is one of the things we ended up with, which is a way of visualizing collections, where you take all the images or the artworks in your collection and you display them on the screen at once. And the position of each image is such that images or artworks that the AI, the artificial intelligence, believe are similar in some way are placed close together. And the idea is then to take an artificial neural network and to basically have, without knowing exactly what the AI is looking at, you can see that the AI has some understanding of the image. So it believes that the images are similar in some way, and then you can, as a curator or as a visitor, you can look at these images and see what the AI believes is similar or different images, and it could be similar or different in motif or style. Technique, I guess.
We still have some issue here, but the way it's visualized, it's kind of if it's far away, it's not so similar, and if it's very close, it's very similar. That's kind of the way Space Navigator works.
Yeah, that's the idea. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about how this works under the hood with the convolutional neural networks, but I also think that requires presentation to. You want me to reshare?
I think they should be able to fix it, don't you think? In a second? Yeah, let's hope so. Oh, it's here. We can see your presentation.
All right, perfect.
We can't see you anymore, but that's we have to stick to the presentation.
Yes, that's the most important thing. So so let me just start by showing you some of the results, and then I'll go back to try to explain how this actually works and what is actually being done under the hood. So
we have the convolutional neural network as the slide showing at the moment. Is that the one? Or should we go to live on
yes, now I'm back to, I'm showing the collection space navigator. Can you see it?
Yeah, maybe there is a delay. I'm not sure. But we could also switch to the presentation here, and you would just say next so that we can switch it locally in between slides, because there seems to be a problem. So
okay, can we show the live, the space navigator, collection space navigator live?
So you can say next. So môžeme ísť na ďalší slide. So each time you want, and you should say next so that our colleague knows that there's next slide, because he's doing it locally. Okay,
I'll try. I did make some changes, so the versions are probably a little bit different. But right now I'm showing the collection space navigator. Can you skip that part for now?
No, we can skip it because now we can only see the PDF. So you can go back to the PDF, and we are now at the slide with convolutional neural networks.
All right.
Basics.
Yes. So with a picture of Lena and some fruit.
No, we are on the one.
The next with the birdie.
Okay. Well, let's go to the before that.
Beginning.
The previous slide. So there should be a picture of Lena and some fruit.
Yeah.
There? Yes. All right. So yes. So the underlying methodology here is what's called the convolutional neural network. So the convolutional neural network is a fundamental step of processing images. So whenever you hear about technologies like self-driving cars or automated medical diagnostics within CT or MRI or ultrasound images, or satellite image analysis, whenever AI is used on images, it's very high likelihood that a convolutional neural network is used. So a convolution is a fundamental step of image processing, and it can be used to enhance and detect features in an image. So if you look at down to the left, you see the mathematical operation between a image on the left side, represented as a matrix of pixel values, and in the middle we have what's called a kernel. It's a set of numbers, and then you essentially multiply each element together and add them together, and so it's a single mathematical operation, and then you get a processed image. And depending on what you put in that kernel in the middle, you can get very different results. So you can, for instance, on the top right, you have an image which is shows you the effect of the sharpening kernel. So the edges look more sharp. And on down to the right, you can enhance edges. You can blur image, you can detect corners, you can detect gradients. You can use this to enhance certain colors, diminish certain colors, look for color gradients, a whole bunch of different things that you can enhance with this mathematical operation. So if you go to the next slide. So that's the fundamental building block, and what a convolutional neural network is a typically it's a series of convolutional operations. So typically, when you see here on the right, you take some image, and this is typically done in terms of classification, where you want to have the computer say what this is an image of. And so you will do a few of these convolutions with different kernels. Let's say you do 100 of them, you get 100 new images. Some are blurred, some are sharpened, some are detecting color gradients and whatever. And then you pull each local pixel value together to get a reduced image size. And then you do another convolution and another pooling and another convolution, and you can keep on doing this process. So you're doing a convolution of a convolution of a convolution, etc. And this, when you say deep learning, this is what we mean by deep, is you have a lot of layers from the input image. And at some point you have done enough layers, you typically you're left with a whole bunch of values that you just flatten to a simple array. And then typically in the case of classification, you would then add on a what we call a classical neural network, fully connected layer, where the output is typically, so in this case, for instance, let's say you have 3 classes, Donald, Goofy, and Tweety, and you want the output to be 1 for Tweety and 0 for the rest. So you train by giving some true positives or some ground truth, and you modify these weights in these convolutions just very slightly so that you get better results, and you do this millions of times over and over again until your network is then trained. And the idea then is that at the beginning of these first few layers of this network, you will learn, or the convolutions will be such that they enhance very generic features. So it might be detecting a certain gradient. Then if you go a couple of layers, you might be looking at circles or curves, some very basic like squares, some very basic features. And then as you go deeper in this network, these convolutions, they're going to be looking at very more kind of high level abstract features like noses and cats and dogs and or ears or yes. So if you go to the next slide, we have trained a couple of or used a few different of these.
Sorry, Jørn, if we can switch to the next slide, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you are showing the Nordic modernism, I assume. And then, so we have trained a few of these models, or used a few of these models. And one of them was to look at the, have an AI or a convolutional neural network to distinguish Nordic modernism from other artworks. And in this case, we had about 1,000 artworks, which is not a whole lot for these type of artificial intelligence. But we did use what's called a data augmentation method, and you can see here basically what you're doing. You're for every image, you are making a whole bunch of copies of that image, and then you can rotate it, you can move it around, maybe change the colors a little bit. You don't want to change it too much that you are destroying what the image is, but you also want to change it enough that you are not overfitting the network to this specific image. So we did this, and if you go to the next slide, you can see that we were able to make this work with 80% accuracy, and we got 90% at some point as well. But the more you train, you do these license limitations. Yeah, we also train an autoencoder, but I don't think I have time to go into that. So if you go to the next slide, what we did do is the same methodology.
Sorry, once again, I need to ask for the next slide from my colleague. Thank you. It's on.
Yeah. So we did use some public domain models. So there are what I showed you. This structure of the CNN is just a generic structure. In reality, there are hundreds and hundreds of different models, and they are different, but they follow the same generic structure. So we used 5 of these public domain models: exception, the ResNet 50, 2 VHG models, and an inception model. And these models were all trained on a database of natural images called ImageNet, which is about 14 million images, a very big data set, and images of about 2,000 classes. So there's cats and dogs and sky and beach and house and mountain and tree and flute and thousands of classes. And this is used in a lot in AI research. Now, we don't actually care about the final output of these classes, so we don't care about specifically detecting cats and dogs. But what is true is that these models tend to learn generic features in the first few layers. And so you're still gaining some insight by using the first few layers of these models. So you can see on the right, you see the architecture of exception and ResNet 50. And they all have what's called a fully connected layer at output. And we simply cut that off, and we are just keeping the convolutional parts of the model. And at the end of that convolutional part is a set of typically around 2,000 values, which we call an embedding. And then you can go to the next slide. So do you have the next slide up?
Yeah.
Yes. So what we do, we put in an image. We run it through this convolutional model. And then we just take a snapshot of that computation in the middle there, what you call the flattened layer. And we simply discard the fully connected layer on the back of that network. Because we're not really interested in these actual labels, but we're interested in knowing or looking at this embedding that the AI gives you. So you can take the next slide as well. So images that the AI interpret similarly, they tend to yield embeddings that are close numerically. So in this example, for instance, you have 2 images that are similar stylistically and one that is very different. And so these on the left side tend to have embeddings that are similar numerically compared to this on the right. And typically these are about 2048 values. It's a common embedding size, but different models have different sizes of these embeddings. So then if you go to the next slide again. So what we do then, once we have run through all of these images through these networks, we want to show these images on a screen, a two-dimensional screen, where these embeddings, images closer together in their embeddings are placed closer on the screen. So we need a way to project these 2000 values in each embedding down to two values, one for the horizontal position and one for the vertical position. And there are three methods by which we do this. I'm not going to go into the detail on all of these, but first it's the PCA, which is called the principal component analysis, which is a purely statistical analysis of picking the single axis which has the maximum variance. And the second is a TSNE, and then the third is a UMAP. And these are methods that are specifically designed to solve this problem of reducing or embedding a higher dimensional data into two-dimensional space. And they have kind of built-in clustering mechanisms. So similar images tend to, or similar embeddings tend to be grouped together. Yes, so then I think I was going to go to the slide, or no, sorry, the page. And Mikael, you can try to show you the results.
Yes, I think Michael, he's logged on, so he could actually share screen and log on to the collection. He just went out to the technician, but
Okay.
But this is the address to the collection space navigator.
Yes. So the collection space navigator itself is a tool that we use to visualize this data after we have done all of this processing. And it's an open source project that was developed by some Estonian researchers. We have the link there.
Oh yeah, now we see. Yeah, now you're sharing actually.
I think there's just a lot of delay. I think there's at least 4 or 5 minutes of delay. So it's hard for me to kind of explain in real time.
So Michael, is Jørn sharing now, or are you sharing from the live?
I'm sharing now. So we can see it Jørn from my computer, and you can see it on your Zoom, right? So I can move around while you speak. So this is the full. Oh.
Yes.
Oh no, it's gone. The minute I did something with it, I don't know what happened because.
I stopped the sharing, but then I can see your screen.
I will share once again and see what happens. Maybe it's gonna work. Yeah, this has to happen. Technical difficulties, that's always the case. But at least you've seen 5 seconds of it. And now I don't really know why it stopped working, even though it worked before.
I can see your screen on the Zoom.
Yeah. I know. It was like that for a few seconds, and then it stopped again. And we can describe it how it looks like by words, but maybe we could start now with the discussion, because maybe we can sort it out with the sharing of the application itself. But if we can start now the discussion, and we will ask Elizabeth to join us on stage for...
Yeah. This is my colleague Elizabeth, head of collection at Kunstmuseum.
And the idea was now to discuss how this could be used also by the people from the gallery itself, and Elizabeth is from Kunstmuseum. And yeah, what do you think? What are the options to work with this kind of technology?
Is it on? Yes. I think it's a new method that needs to be developed, maybe a bit more. Now the research you have done so far makes some possibility, I think, when it comes to organize data sets. When you enter them, like the visuality of it, in terms of form, color, stylistic style, and so forth. So if this were to be developed even more, you maybe could put some filters on it to, for example, organize it even better in terms of, for example, period and stuff like that. Because I guess when the algorithms you use, they don't organize data from an art historical perspective, and I guess that was also the meaning to begin with, to try to search them in the collection in new ways. So yes, I think it has potential, but it needs to be developed further, maybe with more layers on top of it. But I think also it's interesting to try and search collections in new ways that we are not used to from before. So one example from the slide was a artwork from our collection made by Adolf Tiedemann. Was a painting from late 1800s, and it was a painting from the National Gallery collection that was made a lot later, maybe 50 years later. But you can see similarities in color, paint strokes, motives. So maybe it tells us something about how artistic style, approach travels through time and is revived in different periods of time, which I think is interesting, an interesting approach.
Yes, I think when we started this, I think in Norway we have a quite high, we like technology, but when it comes to robotics and AI, there's a lot of hesitation. When we said in the newspaper, oh, we have this robot doing digitalization, and the first comment was, oh, what happened to the photographer? You're taking away the jobs. So this is kind of the hesitation, and also I think in our organization, when we started talking, we're trying to look at AI, how we can use it. We had a lot of hesitation. So it's just about trying, but looking at it as a tool for curators. It's not like we expect that this will be taking over the perspective of the curator. It's not like that. Maybe it could be a tool. Maybe it can give us some interesting perspective, connecting works of art or artist or period that we didn't expect because they don't belong in the same period. We don't see them, So I think, yeah, like you, it could be a tool, and maybe. And we also, an art historian is looking at things in a time perspective as well. We can connect it with other types of data to see it in a timeline. There's possibilities to have different ways of visualizing it. But of course, I agree with you. We're not there yet.
No, but I think it's an interesting starting point, at least. And sometimes, maybe in the future, if you have huge data sets, that you can enter with pictures. It's a really powerful tool to help you organize things in a quick manner. It could save you a lot of time, I guess, to go through many components and artworks in collections. And also I think with this project, what's interesting here is that it's different collections from different nations that are put together. So you can see some kind of connection between different national histories of art, maybe.
So, thank you. We also have a question from the chat online. It's from Lukáš Pilka, and he's asking, and that's a question for you, Jorn. And by the way, we can see the app. I could share it now again. And Lukáš Pilka is asking, are you familiar with, or we can answer that also, are you familiar with Pixplot from the Yale DH Lab? What are the differences, advantages of your tool compared to Pixplot? So that would be a question, how different Pixplot, if you know it. I don't know it that well. I know my colleagues from lab know it. Maybe they can comment. And we are using Collection Space Navigator, which is also an online open source tool for visualizing these kind of vectors.
So I'm not sure. I don't think I know this Pixplot. So I cannot really comment on that.
So maybe my colleague Igor, I know he's, no, okay, no. I was thinking, I know that he's been mentioning it a few times, but I don't know either, sorry, but it's possible to try it out online and to see what are the differences, and we might as well test it, because as Toril had mentioned, we'll be also continuing to work this possibly in-house. And I would like to show you a few examples. I've been just zooming around for a second, and now this is a nice example of those overlappings in between collections. So on this left panel, you can see painting from Slovak National Gallery, Ladislav Medňanský, the Hertz Boy on the riverbank, and just next to it are Landskap fra Skortsfjorden. Also boys sitting at the fjord, like boys sitting at the river. So like I know that it's not groundbreaking in terms of AI, that this can be done quite easily by like people who set it up, but really, as has been said, this is unique in the way that it works with two collections which have never been together, not even exhibited, I guess. And it could be a tool how to expand your horizon beyond the collections you have in your country, you know well, once the collections are open. So I think this is really valuable. I don't know if you have something to comment.
Yes, I get, you told about you started this project with modern art, and you had to stop that because of copyright laws and such. But this is, you know, art pieces from our historical collection. And what I think is interesting is when you put these together, you can see how different images kind of, you know, if it was from the modern art collection, you could see how the periods in modern art has evolved, both in similar ways and maybe in different ways in different countries. And here is, in a way, the same approach, only with the historical pieces. So it's more figurative artworks. It would be nice to see how it could work with abstract art.
I know.
Could be very difficult, maybe also, I think, but interesting to test out.
Thank you. So, if I'm right, we don't have any questions online, but oh, we do. Oh, there is a question from Philo online, and he's asking or commenting, nice to see. Building on image embeddings, what other opportunities do you see for visitors or curators beyond visualizing and clustering? So maybe that's something Toril could answer. And
I think we would like to see how we are working, especially towards children, and we would like to see how, you know, how they, what are the are the language that we need to incorporate kind of into it. I know one online collection, they said, when they put their collection online, they said they wanted to see what is the word that most people are searching for, and it was scary painting, which, you know, they don't have that word in their collection. So there is somehow a language difference between the audience and the collections. So it would be nice if we could manage one way or another to minimize the gap between how we talk about art and how people, what kind of questions people have about art, and I don't know, use AI for that.
Yeah, and one of the possible uses we discussed at the workshop in Kristiansandu was also possible plugin of these vectors into online collections, so you would be able to see those relationships not on this app, but online on the online collection catalog, where, for example, you could see similar images based on this similarity I'm showing at the moment. For example, it's likely that this cluster of paintings from Mikuláš Galanda would be anyway clustered based on the metadata, because it's a pink Madonna all the time. It's the same name. But in other cases where the title and the artist is not the same, it could be really this beyond textual metadata similarity clustering, which would be injected into the online collection for like diverse ways of browsing the content.
But this is only visuals. It's not clustering based on metadata.
That's important to say. Yeah, this is just visual based. It's not counting in the metadata. While, for example, on our online collection we are developing at Slovak National Gallery, we work with textual similarity. So we take the titles of the artworks and the technique, and on this we base the similarities, not on the images. Although we have.
I can also.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think it's also to say very quickly that that last part is something that you can quite easily incorporate here. So there are, I talked about the convolutional neural network, but of course we all know that there are text embeddings as well. So that's so similarly, ChatGPT and all of these, they also have a layer in their network which is an embedding of the input. So. And this is something that you can apply. There are open source alternatives and there are commercial alternatives to get an embedding of textual information. So you can do, you can add that. You can do that exclusively on the text, on the metadata, or you can combine it with images as well. So for sure, this is something that it's quite simple to add to this tool.
And we have added some. When you look at the collection, you will see some keywords that we have added, and it's really, we have made an effort now to add keywords that are not done by the curators or the art historians, but actually just by looking at it and trying to use the language of the audience, even if it's not visualized based on those keywords. We started, moon, night, darkness, moonlight. Those are the words that we are kind of adding into the system at the moment for the audience to create that language between us.
And maybe last question before I hand out or ask the people here with us for questions. For Elizabeth, could you imagine that some curators could use this tool for curating exhibitions, or it depends on the size of the collection?
Yeah, I guess you could say it would depend on the size of the collection. But I was just thinking about the other question we just received, that regular visitors for museums, maybe they would approach artworks very differently. They have maybe other criteria, for what they want to investigate, what they look for. And with a tool like this, you can search a collection in a more maybe playful way than thinking categorically in terms of period, in terms of authorship and so forth, as you maybe would do when you work art historically. But I think this could be a good tool to process a lot of data, but to use it for curating maybe would be also a strength if it could have more layers on top of it. But that's for future development, I guess.
Thank you. And any question from you? If not, then I would like to thank Elizabeth and Toriel for the presentation, and also to Jorn. Thank you, Jorn, and sorry for the technical difficulties, but in the end we made it. So thank you. Now for the final presentation, we can switch off the Zoom now, and we can now switch to the presentation I have, gamifying stories of art. So please, if you could switch. Yep. And this is a different approach to working with collections than previously. It's really focused on single exhibited artworks in the permanent collection or permanent exhibition of Slovak National Gallery. And before I talk to you about those artworks and the way we gamify them, I would give a little introduction about the exhibition or the permanent display to which this game is related. So when the preparations for the new building have been ongoing, we had discussions with the curators, talking about this case with the curator Dušan Buran and Katarina Chmelinova, who put together the sacred art ongoing display. We were discussing how to use digital technology to enhance or to extend the visit, and we decided to embed or to have touchscreen part of the exhibition. It's not really well visible in this visualization, but that was the initial outline. And in the middle, there is a panel which has a touchscreen on the side. And now that we had the touchscreen in place in the plan of the exhibition, we started, or as we were discussing the physical plan, we also discussed the content itself, and we asked my colleagues whom I mentioned to pick two or to select highlights or parts of this exhibition display, which mainly contains Baroque and Gothic art, to choose two artworks which we would use to base the storytelling, the gamifying aspect on. And one of those two is the birth of Jesus. It's this relief on the right side, which has been originally part of high altar of Saint Martin Church in Bratislava, just a few meters away from our building. So this has been originally part of it and has been moved around until it ended up in the ongoing exhibition, also in the collection of Slovak National Gallery. And this was one of those items we were given the task to enhance with the interactive. And the second, the Baroque artwork was the Baptism of Church, and it's a sketch preparatory painting for main altar of the monastery church of the Premonstrarians in Jasov, which is on the east of Slovakia. So this is the altar you can see, and on the right side it's the preparatory painting, which is also exhibited in the ongoing display. So we were discussing this with our colleagues from the educational department and my colleague Lukáš Štepanovský from Lab SNG. How should we put together the brief for the company we wanted to hire? Because different to Atlas, we decided to hire someone to develop it, because A, we can't do it all on our own, and B, if we want to do something like a game, then we are not game developers, so we want to get someone who will be good at it. So we put together a brief, and we had a few examples I'm going to show you, which were inspiring, or which were supposed to be inspiration for the game developers. We asked to give us proposals. It was kind of or officially a tender, public bid to choose the best solution for us. And this example is Disco Elysium, which is an inspiration in the sense of this isometric view, and it's by chance also kind of sacred motive, although a little bit different than a church. It's of course not real, but this was one inspiration. And one of the other inspirations, because there were quite a few of them, was this game Plague Tale Innocence, which has been also chosen by my colleagues as an mood that could be used for the proposed game. And this was important in the aspect of having these objects, possibly those which are exhibited in the exhibition, but also related items which you could collect or you could view in this kind of interface. So these two examples. Part of the brief, it's also here. What we wanted is the visitor to have a chance to also see and interact, explore the artworks themselves, but also the original places that have been hosting those items. So in the case of the church, it's been the relief. In the case of the second one, the Yaso monastery, it's been a sketch. That was one given thing, and the other was, as I mentioned, this 2D or isometric environment. And it was supposed to also give a collage of audio and video, and to be also non-linear and to be really easy to play, because of course at the exhibition you don't expect people to play 1 hour game, it's more like a few minutes, so that was also important for us. And of course this is really a long way to go if you want to develop games, and we knew that we had to start with something else at the beginning, because the game itself wouldn't be finished by the time the exhibition was opening, which was not last year, 2022 at the end. And we had this touchscreen installed there, and we didn't want to have it a blank one. So again, my colleagues at Lab, they were able to find a solution for an app which I'm going to show you, which was a temporary thing, but also kind of influenced and giving you a flavor of what this final game would be. So another look again at the relief from the altar. And now if we can play hopefully we can play the video. Asi keby sme mohli vyskočiť znova z tohto módu a spustiť to manuálne, prosím. So while we sort out the video, as I mentioned, temporarily we wanted to have something that gives you the interaction, and we decided to use a tool which is available. It's not developed by us. It's called Micrio, and it's giving the visitors or the users the option to zoom onto details of the artwork and see the details of it. So this is again the relief I told you about, and we are able to really quickly design it customly on top of the app and prepare the text which speak about each part of the painting. So at the bottom you have baby Jesus being born, and up in the upper part you have the scene, like sheep and so on. So each of these dots, the white dot has a short text attached to it, and you are able to click on these markers on the touch screen to see the details. A ak by sme ešte mohli naozaj skúsiť, či sa to dá pustiť, tá prezentácia. So if we could try the presentation with the video in it, or I can share it. Môžem to nazdieľať na Zoome znova. Okay, I think we should. I can try to switch to Zoom, and I could show you actually live what's there if this works out. Yeah. So give me a second, and I will I will go to the website itself. And this is it. It's live also online. It's not only a touchscreen app, it's a web-based app, so you can actually also use it at home, even though we don't publish it like that. We mainly want the people to have it on site. So as I said, I click on the marker, I get a detailed zoom view with some bits about the part itself, and I kind of have a tour along all these spots on the relief. So this was this temporarily solution I mentioned, and we still have it. If you have the chance to go and see the Sacred Art exhibition, it's still there. But of course, this was not the final thing, and we moved on to development of the game. And we chose Nohav Media Studio, which is a local small indie game studio, which is developing games, not these big commercial games people play usually, but smaller ones. And they could really get the brief really well, and they came up with a interface and illustration style and whole concept which was really fitting the brief. So they created for us this game I'm going to show you now. And at the moment we are in the phase of well, we have a first part of the game finished. As I told you, it's 2 objects. So we have 1 object which is already finished, and I'm going to show you now. And the second one, the Yaso monastery, is in the progress, and in March we should be able to launch it live and switch from this Zoom-based interaction to the game. And I'm going to present again, so give me a few seconds. Yep. Okay. So if this is able to play, yeah, it is. So this is the landing page of the app where you are able to choose the object, and as I told you, the first finished one is the dome of Saint Martin in Bratislava. Now you are in the detail of the church itself, and you are able to explore it in this kind of unpacking of something, a way that you unpack the insides of the building by layering it from the inside, and then you are exploring and looking for objects to find. And as you look for objects in the on the down part of it here, you are getting information similar to the app I showed you at the beginning. So we also have this kind of zoom view of the altar, although it's not a photo, it's an illustration. Similar to that, you have these bubbles that tell you about the artwork itself, and the aim is to connect or to uncover all those parts, and then you can move on back to the building. And on the building again, you are supposed to find objects from the church which have been there originally, like I have to see it, but like things which are historically proven to be part of it. So it's like a canonical, which has been used as a score for singing, for example, and other objects which you need to collect in order to finish the game in those few minutes I told you about. So this is the canonical, and giving you actual information about it. So not just the relief itself, which has been part of it, and other objects too. And this way you are kind of inspired to immerse yourself in the original context and time of this relief, this sculpture. It's also with sound, so there is not really loud and not really too sophisticated sound design, which has crowds flying over and the bells ringing, so it gives you also this kind of atmosphere. There is a drunken guy on the outside, And there are a lot of non-interactive objects, meaning that they are just moving. They are not meant to be collected, so you have to actually find which is the item in the church to be collected to finish the game, and which ones are just there to be tricking you into thinking it is the objects you are supposed to find. So it's really easy, simple interaction, but still, again, working with the collections in a completely different way. No digital, digitized artworks. It's everything illustrated. Although we really are grateful to the colleagues from the board of heritage who have been digitizing the buildings, and the building on the right side, this Jasov Monastery, they were able to give us the whole 3D model of it because they were scanning it a few years ago. And from this model, the game developers, the illustrators, are going to sketch the building itself, because it's meant to be as exact as possible, so that we don't make up how the monastery looks like, or the church itself. So it's not a fiction based, although it's not meant to be like too informed about art or history. It's just giving you inspiration to delve into the topic of Baroque or Gothic art. Yeah, that's it. And I see that we have a few questions, or at least one, on the chat. But again, I would like to give you the option to ask if you would like to. Maybe if something wasn't clear enough. As I said, it's going to be live, hopefully at end of March. And the question, I think it's still related actually to the presentation before, discussion about AI. But there is a question from Philo again. And isn't it weird that the public art galleries stop a research project due to IP concerns, while private companies harvest online data without consent? How do you see the role of GLAM organizations in the future? So that's really on spot. Yeah. So do you have an answer to this question, Doyle? Wait.
No, maybe not an answer, but I think it is an on-point question that we are kind of trying to, forvalte, what's that in English? We serve the public and we take care of this exhibition, the works of art. So we should be able to do it a little bit, to give it more access, to have more possibility to make it accessible for the public as well. But I think it is a very good question. We take it with us.
Yeah, so maybe you could answer by saying that if you have the money, you can do it. Because you can go into the law court cases, because it's probably happening a lot around Europe, especially that the artists or like creative people are suing those companies like Google for not having consent from them when they are training the models on copyrighted or still not public domain images or artwork. So that's probably the case. And yeah, I'm also not really fond of this happening. And hopefully there will be at least some kind of exemption to it, so that the public institutions are able to do it, because they have a more transparent approach to this, that they are also like the guardians of the content. So they should be able to tell what is ethical approach and what is not. And especially they are not the ones who are making money from it, unlike Google and the others who are then reusing the trained models on service they are selling to other companies. So that's probably the main difference, I guess. And yeah, that's it from the online questions. And there is a final one. Okay. I'm going back to the slides again to show the picture and maybe explain better how it's gonna be used. So this is the picture of the part where the touchscreen is at the moment, and it's showing you this touchscreen based Zoom app. But once we finish the app, the game itself, we will make the game accessible on this touchscreen. So this is the temporary solution, and the final one will be with the game exactly in the same place. We don't know yet. We didn't intend this game to be made public, but we have the license to that. We could, if we wanted to. So if it turns out a success, we might release it on all those game platforms. Thank you. And any other questions? Also, if you want to stay for a bit, we still have a chance to go in the foyer and have a short informal discussion. So you are welcome to stay with us and discuss less officially, not on the stage. And if there is not any other questions, I would like to thank to all our guests today, and hopefully we will see each other some other time and exchange our experiences from working with the digital in gallery, because I think this is the main advantage of it, that you are not alone in it and you want to share the things you are working on, and not to do it on your own, because that's a big problem, I think, in the sector, that everyone keeps on doing their own thing, and there is not such a culture of sharing the source code or the knowledge, at least in maybe in our side of Europe, maybe. Thank you, and have a nice evening today with us. Bye.